Good evening, friends. We are 8 weeks down. What, 7 weeks, 9 weeks to go? Math is hard. 8 weeks down, 9 weeks to go, including the playoffs. And it's time to start talking about those playoffs. We're going to bring that into today's show. It is the Massillon Football League show. We are here to break down the fantasy matchups heading into week 9. And we have a special guest. It's me, it's Dan, but the comeback kids, Kenny Edelman, the best team you've probably had since you've been in this league, I would probably say. So
Yeah, honestly, like we were just talking about, I wasn't expecting to be in the position that I'm in right now. I'm just going to keep rolling with it and hopefully continue to make the smart decisions, because even some of the starts I've had were a little sus and they just ended up turning out. So,
Kenny, my next question to you is, I know you do a wrestling podcast, or at least you used to. What mic do you have? Because you sound fucking fantastic.
Honestly, dude, this is like I got it on Amazon. I still do the wrestling podcast, by the way. We had a 3-hour show today. So
how do you not know he does this? He had like 600 viewers last week or 2 weeks ago.
I did.
That's awesome. Kenny, I don't know where it happened, but somewhere along the line, one of us deleted the other one on Facebook. So Marlia updates me on your wrestling podcast. I need to just send you a fucking friend request and get it.
But honestly, man, I bought it on Amazon for like $30, but then I bought I don't even know what the fuck it's called, like a synthesizer kind of a thing for like $100 on Amazon. Wired them both up. It's fantastic.
So Nate says he's watching Crown Jewel right now, so no spoilers, Kenny.
No spoilers. I talked about it all day. I'm done with it for the rest of the day.
Well, Nate, in case you don't get to hear to the end of the show, you won the game last week, so you took down a win. Congratulations on the quarterback and flex play. There was one more thing I was going to bring up to you, Kenny. Oh, Kenny, seeing you now on camera just reiterate something. I hope I'm not the only one to notice this. I feel like the generic faces on NCAA 25 look so much like you. It is fucking ridiculous. I have this running back in me and Metzger's Michigan dynasty right now that every time he wins like game of the week, I'm like, oh, it's Kenny, player of the week again. So,
bro, there were so many times, even in like NCAA 14, like I would just be creating my guy and I'm like, yeah, they look like me. Like
every white guy in NCAA 25 looks exactly like you. It's incredible.
The average white guy.
Exactly.
Wow.
That's not the route I was going. All right, guys, let's talk about what we learned last week. Because we're going to talk playoffs this week, I slimmed mine down to just 2 things I learned, and it's really just talking about high scores and low scores because I'm a very formulaic person. So I wanted to call out Kenny, high score last week, and man, was your team, I don't want to say you were carried, but you were pushed over the top with defense, IDP, and kicker. What a week for those for you last week.
Yeah, and me and Steve were talking about this. We were over at old Jimmy's house watching Red Zone, and Kyle Hamilton, for some reason, just decided that he was going to take me to the promised land last week. I'm hoping he can do it again this week. I'm not expecting, the 25 or whatever he had last week, but
yeah, I'm looking at it right now. He had 27.25 for you off of a projected 9 fantasy points.
Yep. I went into last week. I for sure thought that that I was going to lose. It's kind of how I've been all year, and somehow I'm squeaking it out. I wasn't expecting to be the high scorer either. So that was just kind of like icing.
Well, the high score in a crazy week. The second takeaway, and then I'll let you guys talk a little bit, is the low score last week was Taylor. To nobody's surprise, he's in a full sell mode right now. But that was with 96 fantasy points, only 2 teams below 100 points. Now, week 8 was unique in that there were no bye weeks, Dan, but quite a high-scoring week, especially when we have a team selling off already and giving me a run for my money.
My takeaway from last week was just the close games and coming down to the last plays on Monday Night Football and the excitement that was to beat Phil on the very last play of the game was very enjoyable.
And then, Kenny, did you have anything that stood out to you from last week?
Well, like you said, season's starting to ramp up. I feel like a lot of the teams are finding their spots now. They're hitting their marks. I think we're going to see a lot more close scoring games as we progress into this. The other thing, and, mad respect to Greg for being undefeated, or not Greg, Rob P for being undefeated. I think, in my opinion, he's been getting a lot closer each week to having that loss. So I feel like each week he's getting a little closer. I don't think that whoever he plays this week, because I definitely don't. Or actually, I have him losing this week. I think the luck's going to run out. So
I'm sorry. I'm just seeing Nate's already given me his pick, so I'm just putting it into the sheet right now. And then Stevie's watching the show. Stevie, did you win your game of college against Kobe? Let us know.
Probably not.
We already know the answer to that.
Stevie says he has trouble against the computer. He actually does better against humans. So
Nah.
I don't know.
I can vouch that there's 347 reasons why I'll tell you that he's wrong in that statement.
Did I put you, or did you guys just play a random game against each other?
We just played a random game.
Okay, because I'm like, I didn't remember putting you against each other.
No, it's great though. I go to play anybody, and they're like, "Why did he schedule me against you?" Why? It's the same story every week. Like, I was the only one looking forward to it, and now
look, not only did I get him, but I had to play in Happy Valley. Are you fucking kidding me, Ryan?
I don't remember why I did that. I think Metzger deserved the home game. I should have probably made him travel. But anyway, Metzger, you're my one team who's not in a conference, so you had to fill the gap for me on the guys who are not in conferences. I tried to get everybody 3 or 4 games this year. Everybody seems to hate it, so I will probably move on to giving us all computer games next year and letting the game schedule our humans. So
I love it. I mean, I know I have one rival that didn't want to play me, but
I needed you to play other people, fuckface.
Yeah, how does that work? I played Steve 2 years in a row. He's my rival now, but Ryan's like, nope, skate on through.
It's funny though that if you break down the college football schedule that Ryan gave everybody else but himself, and then you look at the fantasy schedule about how he has like everyone's worst bye week is against Ryan every week.
I will give you that.
It's really coincidental.
Okay.
You start to see the pieces are coming together.
First of all, I played Brian week 1, who has the second highest rated team in the game besides you, at least for human players, and got my ass kicked. So I don't want to hear it. And I lose to Rob the next week. I can only beat the computer. Second of all, I didn't change the schedule on purpose this year because I was lazy, and it just worked out really, really fucking well for me. By the way, week 14, I cannot remember who it is right now. It's Rob and somebody, I think. The most hilarious matchup ever. Their whole teams are on bye. They're both projected at like 60 points. It's going to be, I think it's actually either Rob P or Eric. No, Eric plays me. So it might be Rob versus Rob P. I don't remember who it is, but it's a crazy matchup where it's like they're not going to want to cut anybody, and it's going to be mad interesting. Normally, I would bring.
You got to go 1v1.
I like it.
The week I play you, Ryan, my entire team is on bye. Coincidentally.
Oh, I know.
Imagine that.
I'm leaving the standings up, but I'm actually going to save the standings because we are going to talk about our playoff teams at the end of this show. So I will come back to the standings later on. You'll see the standings when I'm going through the matchups. We will end the show with the playoff teams before we jump into the game. I'm taking it in order except for what I think is the game of the week. So that always is going to put me first because that is what they do. So Dan, it is me versus Greg. Oh, I wanted to let you guys know. So I went 4-3 last week. Metzger, you and Phil and Darren all went 3-4. So that puts me and you as a tie for the game, 32-24 on the season. Darren falls back a little bit, 29-27. I do have Darren's picks, but they're in my phone, not in the sheet. So I probably, I'll get them up here and try to announce his picks. I won't be a complete dick about it. Anyway, Dan, what do you think? Me versus Greg.
I pray that Greg wins this game, but I don't feel confident in that. I'm going to pick you.
No Thursday night matchup in this one.
I think it's a good game. I hope Caleb Williams is awful again. I hope I'm wrong. I hope I get this point. I hope I lose this point, and Greg gets the win. But I'm going with you. I think your team's going to start heating up here with the trades and moves you've made. I know it didn't happen last week, but I think this will be the week. I think you'll finally score 100 points for the first time in like 2 months.
I'm looking forward 2 months. The season then. Kenny, how do you see this one going down?
Honestly, I have the same thing. I think, especially with the question with Jordan Love, that was kind of the thing that stood out to me the most. We don't really know if he's going to be 100%. And also, I like your running back matchups a little bit better than his. I think you'll have a little bit of an edge on that. I think it's going to be a close one, just as it's kind of predicted right now, but I have you taking the win.
Yeah, I also have it as a close one. I think I barely edged it out. I said I have to basically thank Taylor for this win again, because I think my edge in this game is Alvin Kamara, Drake London, and then to a lesser extent, Cedric Tillman, who I was trying to make the decision on last week. wish I'd started him, but at least held on to him. So that's like the first wide receiver cut that I didn't make for the first time in a long time. I'm pretty happy about that. I just need Caleb Williams to be way better. I am going to pick myself in this matchup. So, all right, moving on. It is Dan versus Darren. And Darren picked me, by the way. So no Thursday night in this matchup. It is Sleeper is projecting Dan to win this one by 8 points. When I look at this matchup, Kenny, I have QB and tight end being the big edge, and that's going to Dan's side. I'm getting a little concerned for Dan's wide receivers. They are saying Puka is going to play, but is he going to be limited? When Brian Thomas Jr. initially went down, they said it was a 2 to 4 week injury. Now he's still not even marked out for this week. So I'm worried about the situation Dan's in with his wide receivers. Darren could upset this. But I do want to ask both of your opinion. But Kenny, I'm going to start with you since it's Dan's game. How do we feel about Tua Tagovailoa over Patrick Mahomes on Darren's team? That seems like a weird move to me.
Yeah, so that's what I was going to say. I don't like, especially Tua against Buffalo in that situation. Who knows if he's going to go back to gang signs in his hands and everything else with a couple of hits. I think that's the thing I was going to say as well, you know, with Puka Nacua injuring the knee in practice, and we don't really know about Brian Thomas right now. But on the side of Darren, you know, which Cortland Sutton are we going to get? Because he's had his moments where he's had big numbered games, and then he's had a couple eggs that he laid. So I think looking at it here, I do have Dan taking the win, but that could easily change if he does throw in Mahomes instead of Tua.
I would need to see Mahomes over Tua on top of, I need both of Dan's wide receivers to be out because Dan, I can't remember who it is, but you'll tell us here in a second. I like whoever your backup wide receiver is too. You have one really good backup wide receiver. Oh, Darnell Mooney.
You there, you're breaking up. I really don't know what you said. So
no, what's going on with that? Anyway, Dan, I was just saying I like one of your backups. I just need both of your wide receivers to not be out for you to win this. So
yeah, I'm pretty nervous about the receiver situation. I understand starting Tua over Mahomes. Mahomes has had one good game. I mean, this season. He's a Dolphins fan. I'm sure it's pulling on his heartstrings a little bit, but I understand it. Like, I don't know what to do about receiver. I don't know if I'm gonna leave those two guys in or not, because I am worried about whether or not how they're gonna play. I'm more worried about Thomas than Puka.
Yeah, that's what I was bringing up about Brian Thomas is when he initially got hurt, they said he was going to be out multiple weeks, but now they're not even calling him out for this week yet.
Yeah, crazy. Makes me nervous. Feels like there's not a lot of information out there.
I don't know if you said it. You're picking yourself, I imagine. Is my mic that bad? You just can't
hear
me?
No, I can hear you.
Okay. Maybe it's Dan who can't hear me. Dan?
You're cutting in and out. I have no idea what you're saying. It's not. I don't think it's your mic. I think it's the internet. I think it's an internet issue.
I think it might be.
He's not doing it for.
Well, Kenny, am I breaking up for you at all? Yeah, everyone else is saying they hear me fine, Dan. This might actually be your internet issue.
There's a good chance of that. Let me see here.
Who are you picking to win, Dan?
Oh, I'm going to go with myself.
Okay. I was like, good Lord. And Dan, you have no idea that I've been having so many mic trouble on my other shows lately that I'm like, you have me panicking right now. And then the whole chat is like, Ryan's mic's fine. I don't understand what's going on right now. So there you go. Quality entertainment from a local fantasy football league podcast. So, all right, Kenny, I'll let you get us started on this one. I got Horvath versus Rob P next. And I believe you said you're projecting 8-0 Rob P to go down right now. Sleeper is projecting this as a math is hard 12-point victory for Horvath.
Yeah, I think this is the game he finally takes the L. I think what's really going to hurt him, as he said in the fantasy chat, Will Anderson going down, not scoring anything. And honestly, Horvath's receivers to me have more of the potential. I mean, AJ Brown is probably going to go off as usual, but I think the biggest difference maker here is going to be JJ against Neighbors. Yeah, I think Sam Darnold's going to have a good day against Indy. I think Horvath's going to get the W. I could be completely wrong, and if I'm wrong, I apologize to you, Rob P. But I got Horvath.
No, I think that makes a lot of sense. I love that we're apologizing now for our calls. All right, Dan, if you can hear me, talk about Horvath versus Rob P.
I think they have. I'm gonna start calling them Bobby Wins versus Rob P. So I think they have Bobby Wynn's projections really off, and I think he's going to win this game. I don't think it's going to be that close.
Yeah, I'm actually go ahead.
Horvath running back question marks is I don't trust Sam Darnold at all, so I'm gonna take Bobby Wins.
Thursday certainly hit Rob. Kenny, you hit it on the head there. I don't think it's as bad as we're making it out to be. I think he took losses where you can afford to take losses. I think he has a nice advantage at quarterback, running back, and tight end. And he's one of the few teams in this league that can match Horvath's wide receiver production. So when I look at this matchup, it sucks starting in the hole that he's in, but I'm kind of with Dan where I think they're under projecting his team a little bit. One guy I'll call out specifically, they only have Mark Andrews projected as 0.1, 0.2 better. Mark Andrews over the last 3 weeks is the tight end 3 in fantasy. So I think there's some under projections going on there, and I am actually going to pick Rob here. No apologies to Horvath whatsoever. So, that was just funny to me. We did have a little bit of Thursday action in the Phil versus Rob Mott's game. So right now Rob is up 20 points. He's projected to lose by 18 points, but he also has not put his tight end or IDP into his starting lineup. So the funny thing would be is, does he forget to do that and cost himself lottery points if he doesn't make the playoffs? So that would be hilarious. I'll start off. I have Phil winning this one. CJ Stroud is flat out killing Motts right now. It looks good that he jumps out to that lead, but part of that is only getting 4 points out of CJ Stroud. Yeah. I think Phil has a distinct advantage at quarterback and tight end, and that's going to be a good enough advantage to take this one down, Dan.
Yes. I mean, I feel bad for Rob. I mean, look at what Stroud did last year to compare to at least how he's struggling this year. It seems like it's all in that offensive line just is not protecting him as well. I didn't watch much of that game, so I can't say what happened.
Offensive line got him killed. You called it. Without watching it, you know exactly what happened. It was pathetic what they did on offensive line.
I mean, it seems like that's been an issue all season. Tank Dell kind of bailed him out a little bit. He was hoping to get a little bit more production there just with knowing Stroud. I hope Motts gets the win. I feel bad for Phil. I know he's had a rough, week and a half of football. So,
yeah, thanks to you.
Waiting for my couple dozen wings, Phil. I'm still a little hungry. I thought I was going to get them this week. Didn't get them. A little disappointed in that, but it is what it is. I think Phil gets the win this week, though.
Kenny, how do you feel about it?
So in my notes, I marked it down that I'm picking Phil at the moment, just because like you already touched on, we had the couple empty spaces here, but now I'm taking a look at Motts' bench, and nothing is really popping out on the page to me either.
So at the moment is now gone.
Yeah, so we're just gonna X that out completely. I'm going Phil 100%.
I like it. Kenny, I think you have the matchup of the week, so we are going to save you for the end of the show. We're going to jump to probably the least interesting matchup of the week after Thursday night. JR, which, by the way, can I just tell you, Kenny, you are the only person, I don't know if Stevie does. I have called JR my entire life. You're the only person I've ever heard call him Jimmy, and it's just funny to me for some reason.
That's why I do it.
Okay, perfect. So JR takes on Eric. Me and Darren were talking about this. Eric has such a good team on paper. They just cannot pull off a win, and then they just get fucked on Thursday night by Garrett Wilson going for 25 points, including arguably the nicest touchdown we've seen in the last 5 years, and a great Jets defense going with 23 fantasy points. Not so great for Dalton Schultz, but when you get that out of your wide receiver and defense, it doesn't really matter. I don't know how much analysis you guys want here. I think JR's off to an early lead. What do you think about Jimmy there?
I actually have Jimmy winning. Yeah, with Garrett Wilson popping off for the 25 and the Jets defense somehow getting 23, I feel like that got him off to a good enough lead. And, like we said before, this team just can't figure out how to put it all together yet. I think he still has a chance, and most likely what I think it's going to come down to is the losers bracket kind of playoff run is where they'll finally get together when it doesn't fucking matter. But yeah, I'm going with Jimmy.
Yeah, that's hilarious. I let me throw it out to you, Dan. I know you said you didn't watch the game. Did you watch the game at all, Kenny? Was it a touchdown?
I think it was.
It looked to me like the shin got down first, but it was crazy. So, Dan, have you seen the replay?
I've seen the replay. I hate the inconsistencies across the NFL.
Oh, yeah. That's the big issue.
It just drives me nuts. Whether it's penalties, whether it's what's a catch versus what's a touchdown, it's just so inconsistent.
I do not disagree. Sorry, I'm just trying to get Darren's picks in here while I'm talking. But Dan, you're up. Anything to add to this JR versus Eric matchup?
Yeah, Jimmy's going down.
What?
I'm taking Eric.
No, you're not.
I am taking Eric.
On what basis?
Yeah, we've seen this before. Let me be perfectly clear. We've seen this before where someone jumps out to a Thursday night lead and loses. I don't know if any of those were 50-point leads.
Do you trust Kirk Cousins?
I do.
Kirk Cousins. Yeah.
Kirk Chains is my guy.
Yeah.
Listen,
you
I
like
don't trust
that?
him. J.K. Dobbins has not been doing great. Jaden Reed has not been doing great. Like, I don't think this is a lock win for him in any way, shape, or form. Jalen Hurts has been hot, super hot. Kenneth Walker's had monster games. I do question Amari Cooper. I don't like that. I don't like Amari Cooper there. I'll be honest. I wish he had someone else he could put in there.
Yeah, I didn't think I had anything in my notes about players I didn't like in this game. No, I didn't.
Because Cooper hasn't done anything since the trade. So that's the one thing I wish he had something better at to really get him over the top here. I think him and Cooper and Reed could probably just cancel each other out, both getting probably 2 to 3 points. But I'm gonna take Eric to get this win. I think that we're buying too much into the lead.
Taylor points out JR was on the receiving end of one of those blown Thursday night leads. So
I think it might have been to this guy.
Oh. And then Darren with the expert analysis. So a shin is a foot, but 2 foot is not 2 feet. So welcome to the NFL in 2024. All right. Our second to last matchup is Terry versus Taylor. Terry had a little Thursday night action, got 16.07 points out of Joe Mixon, currently projected to beat Taylor by 114. Again, Taylor's tanking, still doesn't have the ugliest team we've ever seen in this league, but I don't think he has any chance against Terry here. Any disagreement, Dan?
No, Terry should walk this off pretty easy. He just has to get 100 points. Apparently Taylor can't score 100 anymore. So yeah. I wish he would have scored 100 last week, but he didn't.
I thank my stars every day that he did not. So I
actually he gave you a win.
Hey, I bought that win, motherfucker. Let me be perfectly clear.
He gave it to you. Never should have accepted that without ones.
Hey, worked out for me.
That's right. It did work out for you. He gave it to you. Christmas presents in October.
Kenny, I think this one's going to be a blowout. The only place I like Taylor's team better is Chris Olave. So.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say too. And I actually have down in my notes here that all Terry really has to do is score 100 points. So I'm with you guys hilarious. On that. I have Terry winning this one as well.
All right, let's get to the big matchup. It is Kenny versus Stevie. Stevie jumps out to a lead, 25 points, projected to win this one by 10. That is 7 points from Breece Hall and 17 points from Devontae Adams. Kenny had no one going. Dan, I'll let you get us started here.
Oh, so I hope Kenny wins. But man, Jameis Winston makes me nervous.
Makes me nervous too.
I was going to say, Kenny already admitted it makes him nervous as well.
It should, because here's the thing. If Winston has a bad game, you know Njoku's having a bad game.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go with Stevie. I think he's going to get the win. But I think it's going to be a close game. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. You could go either way. You got to go get a quarterback, man. You got to get a quarterback you're 6-2. You're in a great spot. You're 6-2 with the second easiest schedule so far.
Yeah.
Kenny, before the show, said he thought he was getting lucky. I told him I like his team. I don't hate Jameis as much as Dan does, especially in a 14 team. I agree it's going to be a close matchup, Kenny, but I'm also going to pick you to lose. I'm giving Stevie the slight edge because Adams' play is already in the books and you have to earn it. And I just have this thing for Trey McBride at tight end this year. Not that David Njoku couldn't match it, but Trey McBride is just a fucking beast. I'm sure you're probably picking yourself unless you're going the Dan route and just trying to jinx yourself.
Nah, that's for pussies. I'm definitely taking myself.
I'm gonna lose. It's not about jinxing myself.
So I am definitely picking myself to win, and Steve, I'm not gonna apologize for it.
I say he had that in the note there. That he'll accept his apologies.
So my biggest thing, we had Devontae Adams get to 17, and it is what it is. But I don't think, Baker's been putting up great points week to week, but I think Kansas City's going to slow him down a little bit. I'm really fucking praying.
Taylor says he has Stevie by 1,000.
That's cool. That's cool. I'll come visit your loser bracket games.
He said you have to start losing at some point.
Here's the question. He might have him by 1,000, but do you guys think Taylor's team scores 1,000 this year?
Ooh.
No.
I just noticed Rob P is already at 1,000 for the year. Where's Taylor at right now? Oh yeah, Taylor's at 880 through. Yes, Taylor definitely scores 1,000.
Yeah,
just throwing it out there.
And my thing too, like Dan said, if Jameis Winston has a bad game, Njoku most likely has a bad game. But in my head, I'm like, well, if Jameis Winston has a great game, then Njoku's probably going to have a great game. So I'm kind of leaning towards that. Bijan, I think he can have a solid week against Dallas. We don't really know. We don't really know what we're going to get with Jamar Taylor yet. So I think it's up in the air, but fuck Steve. I'm not picking him to beat me. I'm going.
That's fair.
Hey,
going myself 7-2.
I hope I'm wrong. I want Steve to fall to 4-5. He knows the season's over at that point. He might as well just start trading away his pieces.
Sell, little bro.
I do want to quickly throw out there. I love that everyone's a little bro now that Taylor says you guys are right, that he fucked up on that trade. I do love that I left last week's show thinking I got bullied into accepting the trade, and now it may have been Taylor who got bullied into accepting the trade. All right, guys, before we get into the game and get out of the show, I think it's time to start talking playoffs. First of all, I forgot to mention this earlier in the show. After the on-air trade last week, no trades in the league whatsoever for this entire week. So we had nothing to talk about from that category, but it is time to talk playoffs. So what I want from you guys are your 6 teams. If you have them in order, great. If you don't have them in order, that's fine. But I do want to know who your champion is from those 6 teams. Kenny, you're the guest. Dan and me will be talking about this every week. Who do you got as your 6 playoff team?
After a long, hard look at it, I think the top 3 stay the same. I have Rob P, Greg, myself. I think Steve is going to fall out of it. So I'll move Terry. I'll move Terry up to 4. This is tough because all these records are actually very close, and I can even see somebody sitting at 2 and 6 ending up making it. Not Taylor though. Honestly, let's go Taylor, or not Taylor. I'm sorry. Let's go Terry at 4. I'll throw Darren in there just on the basis that maybe he starts Mahomes this week and gets the win.
Okay.
Metzger, I'll keep you in 2 just because you kind of seem like you know what you're doing at some points of the season. And then I'm going to throw Phil in there too, because I think Phil could end up.
I think you gave us too many teams there, buddy. Phil doesn't make it on yours. Yeah. So.
Well, then, yeah, Phil doesn't make it. Phil, you're out. Sorry, buddy.
Phil's out. So just to recap then, Kenny, if I have this right, you have Rob P, yourself, Greg, Terry. I am getting confused now. Terry, Darren, and Metzger.
Dan.
So,
yep.
Okay. Dan, what do you got?
I think I got the same. I have Stevie in and Darren out. That's my switch. I have Bobby wins as my champion.
Oh yeah, who's your champion, Kenny?
Yeah, I'm taking him too. I'm taking Rob P as champion.
Well, we all see this very, very differently because I have Rob P. I have Kenny. I have Greg staying in despite a slide. I think it's going to take 8 wins, which means I think Taylor and Horvath are playing for their fantasy lives this week. Not that it matters. I have myself getting in because of this extremely easy schedule. I agree with you on Terry, but I do have Stevie getting in. And not only do I have him getting in, I think Stevie has the best lineup in our league. I think I have Stevie as my champion right now. So very different from what you guys have. And just to show you guys on the current schedule or the current lineup, basically we all picked the top 7. I think the only surprise pick was me picking myself from all the way down at 12th. So I guess that's not a surprise at all if there's an ego that's going to pick himself coming back from 12th. But I'm telling you guys, go look at my schedule. It is a fucking joke for the rest of this season. And I'm not trying to be mean to the teams. It's the bye weeks. They are absolutely ridiculous.
Super weird, guys. If only he could have seen the bye weeks when he did the schedule.
I didn't go look at any. You guys know me better than that.
Wait. I don't know. After seeing the schedule that I got in NCAA, man,
oh my God. I did not come on this show to be attacked. Taylor also picked Stevie, and I did not see that before because I had it on my show notes. And Darren is at least vouching for me to get into the playoffs. So I'm happy with it. As always, guys, we are going to end the show with the game. Kenny, you are the guest. I always go first because Dan makes me to. Do you want to go first or do you want me to go first?
No, go ahead.
I'm going Jalen Hurts and CeeDee Lamb. It was tempting to go with a stack on Hurts just because I like AJ Brown, but I think they're going to beat up on Jacksonville. We saw the return of the tush push while it was ugly last week. So I think it's going to be another great week for Jalen Hurts. And then I think that Atlanta-Dallas game has the potential to be the highest scoring game this week. I think it could be a fun back and forth game, which is why I like Kirk Cousins, Dan. And it's why I like Darnell Mooney for you if one of your wide receivers are out. But I think CeeDee Lamb is going to be the lone beneficiary to a Dallas team that has to throw and has no real running game. Kenny, who you got?
I'm going to stick with my usual. I don't know if it ever really got me anywhere, but I'm taking Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase against the Raiders. I think it's got a potential to explode. So yeah, that's who I'm taking.
Dan, I'll let you know, Nate at the beginning of the show took the Ravens. It's weird to call it a stack because he went running back, quarterback, but Lamar and Derrick Henry, and Darren, who is sticking to his guns, went Tua and Tyreek with the Miami stack. Last week, Nate took the contest down with, let me remind myself here, Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley. So he did the same team running back wide or quarterback stack, and it got him a win last week for Nate. Darren was just behind, as was Phil. Me and you did terribly, Dan, because of the quarterbacks we picked. Jordan Love and Caleb Williams did not do us any favors.
You literally took the two guys I was going to take, Ryan.
Oh,
took the two guys I was going to take. So I'm going to pivot. I'm going to go Kyron Williams for my flex, and I'm going to take Jaden Daniels as my quarterback.
I promise you, Dan, those were my backup picks for each position. So we're either going to both look really, really smart or really, really dumb this week.
Based on how this season has gone so far, I think we can pretty much tell which direction that's going to go.
I will throw out there, it appears, if I'm getting this correct, that the chat has turned on me on the schedule gate. Stevie is calling for an internal affairs investigation, and Darren's pointing out that I didn't change the schedule because I just let it happen. So, and Taylor is backing Kenny here.
Let's fucking hope so, Taylor.
The Kenny stack of Jameis and Bijan.
So, Taylor, you're agreeing that Kenny's making good choices. Interesting. Interesting. It's like you just are going to ride his coattails now, huh?
Hey, I got enough room.
And Nate wants in. I promise at some point, Nate, it may happen.
We might have to go to a 15-team league.
just to get this guy in, our friend from down under. All right, Kenny, this was awesome.
Go to 15 and include relegation every year.
If we could figure out the right amount of people to do relegation, it would be a dream.
15's the answer. Someone's out every year. Whoever finishes in last, they're out, and they can come back the next year. They're automatically back in.
That's what I'm doing. I say that's what I'm doing with like the MAC in our division right now. Whoever is last in the MAC gets kicked out, and one of the independents comes in. That's how I've been doing it, just for fun at the end. So, oh man. All right, Kenny, this was a blast. What do you got? Parting words for our friends.
Fuck all of you guys. Fuck Taylor. Fuck Steve. Steve, I'm coming. You're going to take the loss. Hope I see Rob P in the championship.
Ooh. Now, let me ask you this. Have you already played Rob P for the regular season?
I don't believe so. I think I play him in like 2 weeks. Would you rather
lose to him in the regular season and have him go undefeated, a chance to be our only undefeated champion in league history, and then beat him in the championship? How would you rather have that play out? Or do you just want to beat him next week and be done with it?
Well, considering that I have yet to win a championship in this league yet, I would rather beat him in the championship.
Yeah.
100%.
That makes sense. Dan, parting words?
Love you guys. Have a great weekend.
I like all of you guys just fine, except Greg this week. Go fuck yourself. I hope your team is terrible. And my God, please let Caleb Williams ball out. I love Stevie, who threw out there after the show last week that, oh, by the way, I have no regrets about Baker Mayfield, Caleb. Yeah, you think Baker Mayfield goes and balls again with no wide receivers. Caleb Williams can't get 100 fucking yards and then loses on a Hail Mary. What a shitty rookie quarterback class. What was I thinking? I guess not class, just the first guy off the board. Anyway, have a great weekend, boys. Have fun tomorrow, except for Greg.
Some people predicted it.
I hope it's terrible for you. Dan, shut the fuck up.